and you can enjoy the wealth that God has given us. Give me an amen there.
Amen.
Those who are ready to become soldiers in this revolution, join BLF, make it your organization.
Leader of the Black First, Land First movement, Mngxitama, has defended comments made at a rally in Potchefstroom in the northwest over the weekend.
He claimed they were taken out of context. A video surfaced on social media in which Mngxitama said, "If you kill one black person, we will kill 5 white people."
He said he was reacting to businessman Johan Rupert saying he had an army in the taxi industry. Rupert was referring to his links with the South African Black Taxi Association.
Johan Rupert says if we touch him, he's going to unleash upon us the taxi industry people. Now, here's a message to Johan Rupert. Johan Rupert, it's okay. Pay the taxi industry bosses. But here is the deal. For each one person that is being killed by the taxi industry, we'll kill 5 white people. For every 1 black person you kill, we'll kill 5 white people. You kill 1 of us, we'll kill 5 of you. You kill 1 of us, we'll kill 5 of you.
These are remarks that got BLF in hot water. Now the movement is defending itself. Mngxitama insists he was quoted out of context. He says his utterances were a reaction to businessman Johan Rupert's interview. He argues that in an interview, Rupert implied that if he were to be attacked, he would unleash black-on-black violence.
The clip that was issued by us as Black First, Land First, which gives the context of my comments, has been edited by these groups. They've edited all the context of where this statement emanates from.
Meanwhile, the BLF leader has come under fire, with some political parties laying charges of hate speech against him.
Adolf Hitler started this way. People were killed. Idi Amin started this way. People were killed. In Rwanda, it started this way. People were killed.
As far as I'm concerned, they should be deregistered as a political party.
Weighing in, Solidarity Trade Union says its lawyers are drafting a letter to the Electoral Commission. The union wants Black First Land First leader to be held responsible for his utterances.
What Solidarity actually said is that you cannot provide a person with an ideology like Mr. Mngxitama to actually present in the National Assembly.
BLF says it's willing to meet the IEC to explain itself before the Commission, and that nothing will stand in its way of taking part in the 2019 elections. Mngxitama Khatlana, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right. If that wasn't disturbing enough to call for the slaughter of women and children, as it's already been discussed, they've been doing this shit, but now they're not keeping it a secret, at least now. I mean, it's really repulsive. Let's hear him lie his way out of this one now. Brandi, you have actually been a big part of this, advocating for this and trying to help stop the genocide before it goes too far in South Africa. And the situation just gets worse and worse every day. And of course, yes. Speeches like this, what's that going to empower further?
Number one, this is not the first time or the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth that he has said things like this. This is just the first time. It's a big deal. And he's not the only one who does it. I mean, imagine our senators or congressmen or whatever, when election time comes, holding rallies and calling on their followers to kill all white people, their dog, their babies, their wives, to rape the wives, the elderly, it doesn't matter. Does that sound insane to American people? Because this is really happening there, and it is insane.
It is,
and
insane
these
is not
people
the
take that
proper
as a
word.
call.
It's not even the
Yeah,
proper word.
insane.
It's you know, this is horrific. This is one of the worst things that's happened, and President Clinton, talked about one of the biggest regrets he had during his presidency. Of course, well, he had too many faults, if you ask me. But
Well, that depends on which
what-
side you're on.
one of the biggest regrets of his presidency was not getting involved in Rwanda, and 80,000 people were slaughtered.
Billy, I actually wrote 2 articles, and they have to do with this because people don't accept what's happening to these white South Africans as a genocide, right? And mostly because they have white faces, I feel. And I wrote an article on genocide by definition, and it is basically what I did is take the UN's definition of genocide and use it against them, because these people fit into all 8 categories of what they have laid out very clearly of genocide. And inside these 8 categories, there are many smaller determining factors. They fit into every single one. It's very scary. And I also wrote an article on past genocides and how the world always waits until it's too late. And when the UN finally sent soldiers to Rwanda, it was too late. They were all dead. They sent 3,000 or 5,000 troops. I wrote about it. And when they got there, it was done.
And see, what gets me about Rwanda too, it is the way it was done. These, it wasn't shootings. It was
done the way it's being done to these people.
Yeah, it was
white South Africans.
It was done with machetes for the most part.
Yeah, it was terror. Things we don't see in horror movies.
I mean, Pol Pot, he started a genocide of people in Cambodia, and at least they had the decency to shoot people or blow them up. No, these guys here hack people to death after
they cut the breasts off the women so the babies would starve to death.
Oh,
they did horrible things. They mutilated the women and left them alive. They would cut their breasts off because they're like tribal people. They don't have a baby formula. That's how they feed their baby. So if they had infants, they would cut their breasts off so the babies would starve to death. Like, they did some really horrible things.
Pretty much, just going back to the Sand Creek Massacre, that's what happened there, and that was one led by white people, very sadly. Is John Shivington and his soldiers put babies up on poles like skewers, cut out women's vaginas and so they could make tobacco pouches out of them, raped them, just senseless slaughter over prejudice. And now here are these bunch of idiots that want to blame the descendants of settlers from 400 years ago that didn't even harm their ancestors, but yet they're told a bunch of lies and bullshit, feed off the history of this country, feed off the history of Australia.
Brainwashed.
Yeah.
What people in America don't understand is the mentality of these tribal blacks there, okay? And I'm not saying all are like that, because I actually know a few that I speak to on a regular basis that totally, disagree with this. They're willing to fight, beside the Afrikaner people. But the majority is they're tribal. They practice Sangoma, okay? So that's like a type of voodoo. And they believe that raping a virgin cures AIDS. So they gang rape even infants. even white infants, to death.
Sick.
And they believe that eating the heart of the farmer gains the farmer's knowledge. So these are this is the mentality. Like, it's so hard to explain if you haven't experienced it. I've experienced a lot of attacks by these people. I mean, I've been called a filthy war criminal with the blood of Native Americans on my hands. And I tell them, I'm not, you're not 400 years old. I'm not 400 years old. We don't punish the sons for the sins of the father, no matter what happened. And nobody really knows what happened 400 years ago.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there for sure, because we weren't around at that time. And
no, they settled the Cape, these Dutch people. And for people that don't know, they were escaping being persecuted for their religion, for being, Catholic. And so they went to this uninhabited land. It was mostly uninhabited. The only people there were the Khoisan people. And they made treaties with these people. They made deals. So technically, if you want to get down to the nut cutting, as we say in Texas, the Khoisan were the first people there. So that means everyone that's not Khoisan, they either need to be killed, slaughtered, tortured, murdered, or they need to leave and go back to wherever they came from. That's what they tell them. Go back to Europe. People that were born there, their birth certificate says they're a South African citizen. Where the fuck are you supposed to go? It's so hard. You can't, no country, they can't get granted asylum because they're white. But if a black person from South Africa applies for asylum, they get it very easily. But you can't just leave and go to a country where you're not a citizen of. I get really angry. I apologize.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
No.
And you talked about too, they're making up excuses, of course. And you heard just before Ndili made said those outlandish things, that racist bullshit that he said. Don't tell me blacks can't be racist after hearing that. But
Ramaphosa blamed it on white people.
I have that. I'm about to play that here. This is about a minute long. This is
okay. Well, Craig texted me and said he's on Skype, so whenever we get ready.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure. He's not on my friends list if I can add him or not. Skype is so funny anymore.
Can I add him? I have an add button.
Yeah, go ahead. See if you can get him added into the conversation.
Yeah, you guys need to hear Craig, because Craig has a very powerful voice on this issue, and he is a great man.
Yes. In the meantime, while that's, if you want to add him in, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip here.
Okay.
This is from President Cyril Repulsive.
It is anger, and it is justifiable anger. It is justifiable, and that's precisely what we keep saying, that white South Africans and those who have power in their hands must realize that the black majority in this country are becoming more and more impatient about their lackadaisical commitment to inclusion, their lackadaisical commitment to recognition of black young people and black people in general. The racist acts that we've been have been happening largely from white people, and we are saying that must come to an end. And that is the message that we are preaching, and we must continue to preach. We must never give up, because if we do give up, then South Africa descends into mayhem. If we do not continue with this message of pulling and pushing all the time,
descends into mayhem, as if it's already happening and you damn well know it. Craig Montgomery, thank you very much for joining Outlaw Radio.
Hi.
All right. So yeah, after more and more outlandish things have been happening, overall, really quick, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners and talk about how you've been what you've been doing at this time to help push this movement to get the world to recognize this.
Craig Montgomery. I was born in South Africa back in '61, and I immigrated to the United States in '96. Spent 10 years in the Middle East with the U.S. military as a contractor. I walked away from South Africa and became a U.S. citizen in '07. But I got a call from people back home, and they asked, "Can you help?" And that was they immediately said, "All right, let me see what I can do." And I posted a small video, very small video, 1 minute or so, and it exploded. And then I heard that they were using military grade sound jamming equipment, and a lot of the people that were getting caught in these attacks were having police weapons. So I realized this is a government conspiracy. So I continued to argue and put out videos. And then I was contacted by Tammy, who was from Words Matter Publishing, and they said, and then I got a hold of Brandi contacted me as well. And together we put together the United South African Coalition. Because what I realized was that there were so many splinter groups trying to get the message out to the world that it was getting lost. Now, as for Ramaphosa, he's an absolute liar. We've got a document that stated that in 1993, just before the elections, this includes Mandela. They knew Mandela was given a Nobel Peace Prize, and it was a lie. He was complicit in this. He knew what was going to happen. And it was to boil the frog slowly in the boiling water because it doesn't know it's going to die. This lists details what the ANC was going to do to the white people once this was over. Well, it's escalated now once Mandela died. In fact, Mandela was on ice for about 3 months where they sold his rights to the TVs to get more money. These people have no regard for anything.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Craig.
Yeah. So when this continues, and then the land reform is a human rights violation, and it's a lie. It's an absolute lie, because what they refused to go to the International Court to The Hague, and if they did, they would have to present their case to the court and to prove that the whites do not own the land. They can't do that. And what's surprising for me is that how do you and I put this out on Twitter as well and on Facebook, the sins of the 16th century cannot be placed on the innocence of the 21st.
I agree.
It's totally ridiculous. And then to stand up and tell the people, yeah, it's insane. It's totally insane. And to stand up and say, because 2 black taxi drivers have a fight in the street and one dies, they're going to go kill 5 white women and children and their pets. White women. And then what?
Billy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What blew me was the fact that they're not, listen, if you want to take my land, put me in a truck, put me on foot, send me up the road, take the land. But you go to the house and you wrap a towel around an 82-year-old man and pour boiling water over his head. Or you take an entire family, rape the children as young as 3 years old, drill holes in their knees, torture them for hours and hours and hours.
Eyelids off the men.
Yeah.
And so iron too.
Yeah, so they can watch their children be raped and murdered in front of them. And they know it's happening.
And not only that, but they take pride in it. They brag openly online about raping white children with hopes of infecting them with AIDS. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of examples of this.
I want to make a quick statement too, and I really hate to say this, but we're running out of time for the segment here. Craig, I'd actually like to have a full-length conversation with you sometime, but here's something else, and people can laugh at what I'm going to say. I know Derek and Chris are going to laugh at me and say I'm too old to do something like this, and Dealey put out a tweet some time ago, and I'm going to read it verbatim in his poor spelling and his poor English. Very interesting. Just met this white chap who says he understands and respects what BLF stands for. He basically would do the same thing if he was black. He wished BLF luck, and on my part, if I met him one-on-one on that great day of reckoning, my machete won't hesitate. Well, my message to you, Mr. Andili, how about this? Meet me. Come and meet me. You have that machete in hand, no guns, and let's keep it fair. No guns, and we'll meet one-on-one gladiatorial combat. You can have your machete, because I promise you I would be there, and Lucille is thirsty, fucker.
Here's the thing too. It's amazing how
they'll never
they always preying on the innocents, the old, and the women and children. They don't want to take on the real problem over there. And what they do not realize, there's over 100,000 white, highly trained military people. At least 40 to 50,000 of them were with us in Iraq, working for contractors over there. They're all highly respected. Most of the contractors over there wanted to hire them because they are very, very good soldiers. Yes. Now, these people are not they do not want a war. And that's what I've been advocating from the beginning. I want Trump to just say, put full-blown sanctions on the country for crimes against humanity. Blockade every single port in their country and bring their country to its knees, put an interim government in place, and replace this government that is actually causing human rights violations. They also violated the Iran sanctions a couple of times now. So if we put sanctions on their country, that's another thing. China has to leave, because they would be under the UN Charter and have to leave. That would again give these people no power, and all the people that have been advocating these murders and rapes and doing and the police, the general of the police, is actually complicit in this, because he said anybody that defends themselves will go to jail for murder. How do you?
Isn't he a member of the EFF?
Yeah.
Sad.
Isn't he a member of the EFF?
Who? The police? The police general? No, I don't know. But I do know that.
I know like 30-something% of the police force are EFF members, and this is Julius Malema's party that sings "Kill the War," the genocide.
Delirious
Malema. One bullet.
Yes, Julius Malema has now just said in court that he wants to decriminalize trespassing. Can you even imagine?
Oh boy, just yeah, put him on the Mexican border.
Billy, I just want to. I wanted to mention something that you said to me the other night. Billy actually made a perfect analogy of this situation. You know, he's Native American. He's part Native American. So when we were speaking about this, and he was saying that somebody was saying these stupid things in America, right? And we took this to the Cherokee Council. You know, the people that were slaughtered and killed, you know, when the people from Europe came here, our ancestors, they would laugh at them, you know, it would be ridiculous, you know, and these are the people that really were victims of, you know, horrible atrocities. Yeah. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah. By the way, Craig, one quick statement I want to make directly towards you is, you know, there's so much talk about immigration, and some people say how some aren't welcome. You, my friend, came over here, signed the guest book, did everything you could to become an American citizen and serve this country with honor. And on behalf of myself, Chris, and Derek here at Outlaw Radio, we thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's also what irritates me the most too, because we went through the ringer to come here. We did it legally. I never asked. I've never been on any welfare program. I've never asked for a cent. I busted my butt to just do what I got to do. And when the time came during 9/11 and all that, I can still remember the day where I was. I was in Logan Airport putting in some lights on the runway. And I never thought that I'd spend the next 10 years in the Middle East. I did 8 years in Iraq and 2 years in Afghanistan.
And we can't express our gratitude.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
You know what? You know what? I want no thanks. You know, you got to understand, we were contractors. We got paid to go do what we had to do. But it was my way of serving the soldiers. But I can tell you right now, I have lots of friends, General Knapp, General Haley, Cordone, all those guys know me very well. And I was with all the troops right down to the lowest Joe. Listen, those guys need your respect, not me.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, you have our respect just as much as they do.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
But
yes.
Craig, will you please tell them something that Americans don't know is that during the Iraq War, these people fought beside our soldiers and died. You know,
I can tell you
I have
right now,
pictures of
there's about
veterans.
Yeah.
Their home, they have American flags in their homes.
Yeah. I can tell
So
you, like companies like Reed, Hunt, Falcon, Sallyport, EODT, Dynacore, Dynacore. There's Aranis, L4, CL4, or something like that. The British companies, there's a lot of contractors. They hired all of these guys. They're all 3-2 battalion, recce's, Kufut, ex-policemen, soldiers. These guys are amazing. Everybody wanted them because they were steadfast. They always never late to work. They were there every time, and they did their job. And many of them died for us. Many of them died.
Yes.
No man left behind, right?
That's right.
I want to know what
and died with our soldiers.
All right. I really hate to do this, but we are vastly running out of time and have to get to our next music set. I want to thank both of you for joining the show tonight. And Craig, I want to talk to you a lot more in the future for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Buzz.
Yes. Billy. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yes. All right. So it is time. Definitely.